Hey everybody, Chris here. So today we are looking at the new Barbarian in the 2024 Player's Handbook. If you are watching this video and happen to not be subscribed, I would ask you subscribe. I'm pushing for 100,000 subscribers. Every subscription counts. I would really appreciate it. And this is going to be getting close to my number of banked videos that I had at the beginning of August. I have definitely added more videos since then, I assume, which means that if you join my Patreon, which is in the video description, there are going to be more videos on the new Player's Handbook. I'm planning to have pretty much all the Player's Handbook taken care of, but well before September 17th. And so if you click the link, then you can check out those videos right now for $3 a month without YouTube ads. However, I expect to have them all released by September 17th publicly as well, so do not worry that if you're unable to support the channel right now, you will still see these videos before the new Player's Handbook is officially released. So today we're going over the Barbarian. One of the reasons I'm going over the Barbarian right now is I wanted to start with the classes that I found the most changes to and I found the most exciting. So that's why I started with the Warlock and the Sorcerer and the Barbarian. And the very next one I will be doing is the Fighter, which I also think is extremely interesting and exciting. So yeah, obviously I'm pretty happy with the Barbarian. I have frustrations with the 2014 Barbarian. The last time I played a 2014 Barbarian, which was a while ago, I remember thinking afterwards, I'm not going to play Barbarians anymore because we were playing probably about 10th level, and we were going through like a dungeon scenario where there's combat after combat after combat. They're not all big combats, but there's lots of them. And a Barbarian in the 2014 rules is awful for that because you have a limited number of rages. I believe at that level I had 3. They last a minute, and so which means you can't use them for more than one combat. And when you don't use your rage, you're giving up not only on your most iconic Barbarian feature in combats, but also your subclass features don't work unless you're raging, or at least the main ones do, which meant that, it really meant that in most combats, my character just did not feel good at all. And that is terrible, that when you have certain kind of adventures, the Barbarian does fine. You're going to have a couple combats per long rest, fine. But the rest of the time, when you're having more combats, you feel like you can't use your class features, and that's awful. I feel like that has been fixed with the new Barbarian, and I've playtested the new Barbarian, and it works really well. So we are going to start with the core Barbarian traits. No big changes here. You're going to get 2 skill proficiencies, you're going to get all the weapons, and you're going to get light and medium armor and shields. In 2014, I would say I saw about 0% of Barbarians who use shields. I think that will change. It definitely looks more viable to use a shield and a weapon with a Barbarian now, so if you have that Conan fantasy, I think that can work. But I still think most Barbarians will probably still use 2-handed weapons. So we're going to start with the class chart, and I just want to acknowledge we see rages, they go from 2 to 6, and that is no different than the old class chart. We see rage damage go from 2 to 4, or +2 to +4. That's also no different than the old class chart. The main change we see here is the weapon mastery column, which didn't used to be there because Barbarians are going to get weapon mastery. You're going to see they start with 2 and they're going to end up with 4. We'll talk a little bit more about weapon mastery in a bit. But first, let's talk about rage. All right, and it says you can imbue yourself with primal power called Rage, a force that grants you extraordinary might and resilience. You can enter it as a bonus action if you aren't wearing heavy armor. That's the first change, is the old version didn't actually prohibit you from raging, wearing heavy armor. It just said you didn't get the benefits under rage, but you could still get subclass benefits when you were raging with heavy armor. Now you just can't rage in heavy armor. You can enter a rage a number of times shown for your Barbarian level in the Rages column of the Barbarian features table, which we saw is the same as 2014. You regain 1 expended use when you finish a short rest, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That's the second change. The old version only got them back after a long rest. If you wanted to take a short rest and you had a Barbarian, the only thing you got from that short rest is you could expend hit dice for healing. Now you're actually going to recover one of your rage uses as well, so those rage uses are going to go further than they did before. While your rage is active, your rage follows the rules below. Damage resistance, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That's unchanged. Rage damage, when you make an attack using strength, either a weapon or an unarmed strike, and deal damage to the target, you gain a bonus to that damage that increases as you gain levels in Barbarian, as shown in the rage damage column of the Barbarian features table. And as we saw with the table, the bonus has not changed, but this has changed in two ways. First is, the old version didn't allow you to add it to unarmed strikes. You could potentially make a fairly decent Barbarian that uses unarmed strikes now. You might want a dip fighter for the unarmed combat fighting style, but otherwise, I think you could make it work okay. That said, the other change is it says when you make an attack using strength. That means that includes thrown weapons, because thrown weapons use strength unless you are using the finesse property. So that is a huge advantage to Barbarians that they didn't have before. They couldn't use rage for anything but melee attacks before. Now we can use them with thrown weapons as well. So that's great. Then we have strength advantage. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, which they've always had. No concentration spells. You can't maintain concentration and you can't cast spells. That's no different. And then duration. This is a big change. The rage lasts until the end of your next turn. That's one turn. And it ends early if you don heavy armor or you have the incapacitated condition. I don't know why you'd be donning heavy armor while you're raging, but okay. If your rage is still active on your next turn, you can extend the rage for another round by doing any one of the following. You can make an attack roll against an enemy. That's the standard way. You force an enemy to make a saving throw, or you take a bonus action to extend your rage. Each time the rage is extended, it lasts until the end of your next turn, and you can maintain a rage for up to 10 minutes. So the bonus action extending of rage didn't exist before, and the ability for a rage to last up to 10 minutes means that it has a duration that is potentially 10 times greater than the 2014 Barbarian. That was 1 minute. That means that in that scenario I discussed before, where you go in room to room to room, combat to combat to combat, you could potentially use the same rage for all those combats, because you can maintain it between combats now easily, because you have the 10-minute possible duration, as well as maintaining it as a bonus action, so you don't have to attack or take damage anymore. In fact, taking damage doesn't extend your rage anymore. So that is a huge quality of life improvement for Barbarian. That's going to make them good in those days that you have the single fight, or the days that you have the plentitude of fights. They're going to work for all of them now. So you don't have to, make a Barbarian and then, half an hour into the adventure you go, I have made a huge mistake. That's not going to happen anymore. So that's great. Huge improvement to rage, in my opinion. So Barbarians get weapon mastery. They're going to initially get 2 weapons, eventually get 4. They cannot choose just any weapon. They are one of the ones that have restricted choices, and in the case of Barbarians, they can choose simple or martial melee weapons of their choice. So they can't choose a longbow or a crossbow. What I imagine most Barbarians will want to do is pick a weapon that they want to use in melee, and pick a weapon that they want to throw, and master those 2 weapons. So maybe javelins and greatsword or something like that. That's probably what you're going to start with. And then as you get more weapon proficient or weapon masteries, which eventually caps out at 4, then you might want to consider a backup melee weapon that uses a different mastery that you might want to access, or a backup thrown weapon that accesses a different mastery that you might want to access. That's probably how I would think most Barbarians will go with that. With melee weapons, you can access every mastery that there is in the game. All right, level 2, we're going to get Danger Sense. And this, the 2014 Barbarian got, and what it basically said is you get advantage on a dexterity saving throw, as long as you can see the source of the danger. And now they've gotten rid of that. Now it's just, you get advantage on your dexterity saving throws unless you are incapacitated. Which means that You know, if you are walking along and a pit trap opens up underneath your character, you no longer have to have a conversation with your DM whether it counts as seeing it now that it is opened and you're making the save, or whether the fact that you didn't see it and that's why you have to make the save meant you didn't get advantage on the saving throw. That conversation you don't have to have anymore. You'll get advantage on the saving throw. I think this simplification is a good one. All right, our next feature is Reckless Attack. This is iconic for Barbarians. So this one says, you can throw aside all concern for defense to attack with increased ferocity. When you make your first attack roll on your turn, you can decide to attack recklessly. Doing so gives you advantage on attack rolls using strength until the start of your next turn, but attack rolls against you have advantage during that time. So there's two changes here that are both improvements. So the 2014 version, when you attacked recklessly, it gave your enemies advantage to attack you until the start of your next turn, but you only got advantage on your attacks during your turn. Meaning if you held your attack, or you made an opportunity attack, or any other kind of reaction attack, you didn't get the benefit. Now you will. Makes more sense for those two things to be matched up with duration. It's simpler, and I think it's better. The second is the same as Rage, in that it affects now all attacks using strength, not just melee attacks. Meaning, again, with a thrown weapon, we can now not only add our Rage bonus to damage, we can also reckless attack with it so we can get advantage on it, making thrown weapons a whole lot better for Barbarians now than they used to be, which is why I would think that you would want a weapon mastery for a thrown weapon, because thrown weapons and Barbarians work really well together now. Okay, so that's Reckless Attack. We're now on to level 3. You're going to pick your subclass. You can pick Berserker, Path of the Wild Heart, Path of the World Tree, and Path of the Zealot. We saw the Zealot in Xanathar's. Path of the World Tree is brand new. Path of the Wild Heart is a renaming of the Path of the Totem Barbarian, and Path of the Berserker was also in the 2014 rules. Then also at level 3, we're going to get Primal Knowledge, and this is a brand new feature. You gain proficiency in another skill of your choice from the skill list available to Barbarians at level 1. So we get 2 skills to start, but it doesn't last very long. We're going to be at 3 skills very quickly. In addition, while your Rage is active, you can channel Primal Power when you attempt certain tasks. Whenever you make an ability check using one of the following skills, you can make it as a strength check, even if it normally uses a different ability. Acrobatics, Intimidation, Perception, Stealth, or Survival, and these all normally use different ability scores. When you use this ability, your strength represents primal power coursing through you, honing your agility, bearing, and senses. So acrobatics, intimidation, perception, stealth, and survival are all barbarian skills, so we could access any of them. If we choose the right background, we might have all of them. And there's 2 things here. So first off, naturally as a barbarian, I would expect that we're probably focusing on our strength, meaning that it makes us pretty good at any of these, whether we're proficient or not. In addition, when you are raging, you get advantage on all strength checks, meaning that not only will we be adding our strength modifier, we'll also be rolling all of these with advantage. So this is really good. Now, I think the idea behind this is that when you rage, you're becoming kind of this predator, and these are skills we would expect with being a predator. Acrobatics, intimidation, perception, stealth, or survival. I think Jeremy Crawford accidentally said that persuasion was here. Persuasion is not here. These are skills that I think are far more thematic than persuasion in Primal Knowledge. But I think this is a good feature. It gives that barbarian, that's something they can do outside of combat that is cool and that's thematic, right? The barbarian, that is stealthing, the survival checks, they're super aware, they're super scary. I think that all fits the barbarian theme. So yeah, brand new feature. So it doesn't replace anything. It's just an improvement for the barbarian. Barbarians continue to get ability scores at the standard levels. They get them at 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19. They don't list 19 here, but they get one at 19. They list this on all the classes as an epic boon, but the epic boon is just another feat. They're just pointing out that when you're level 19, you qualify for epic boons, and of course, the epic boon feats are the ones you should be selecting. Okay? Level 5, we get extra attack. It is unchanged from the 2014 rules. At level 5, we also get fast movement. Our speed increases by 10 feet while we're not wearing heavy armor. This is also unchanged from the previous rules. Then we get Feral Instinct at level 7. Your instincts are so honed that you have advantage on initiative rolls, also from the 2014 rules. In addition, at level 7, we're going to get Instinctive Pounce. As part of the bonus action you take when you enter your rage, you can move up to half your speed. So the 2014 version of the Barbarian didn't have this, but it was an optional class feature in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's now just been made part of the base Barbarian class. At level 9, we get Brutal Strike. This replaces Brutal Critical. So in the 2014 rules, Barbarians had a scaling feature called Brutal Critical. And what it basically said is if you get a critical hit, you add a die of damage to your weapon. So if you were using a great axe, you could add an additional d12 to your critical hits. And then eventually it would scale, so it would be 2 extra dice, then 3 extra dice. That has changed now to Brutal Strike. Brutal Critical was not popular with players, so they have changed the feature. This says if you use Reckless Attack, you can forgo any advantage on one strength-based attack roll of your choice on your turn. If the chosen attack roll hits, the target takes an extra 1d10 damage of the same type dealt by the weapon or unarmed strike, and you can cause one Brutal Strike effect of your choice. You have the following options. Forceful Blow. The target is pushed 15 feet straight away from you. You can then move up to half your speed straight towards the target without provoking opportunity attacks. And Hamstring Blow. The target's speed is reduced by 15 feet until the start of your next turn. The target can be affected by only one hamstring blow at a time, the most recent one. If you have advantage on your attack for any reason, it could be from Reckless Attack or it could be from some other source, you give it up. Now, it also says the attack cannot have disadvantage. So what that means is with Brutal Strike, you are giving up your advantage. You will not have disadvantage. Your attack roll is going to be a straight up attack roll. And although it does a d10 extra damage, that doesn't necessarily mean you should expect to deliver more damage by applying Brutal Strike, because there's a better chance you're going to miss, right? You're giving up advantage. There's also a lower percent chance you're going to crit, which would give you additional dice of damage, or additional die of damage at least. So it's not necessarily going to be a damage booster. It's really going to be, is Forceful Blow worthwhile for you? Is Hamstring Blow worthwhile for you? And that is going to depend, because often reducing speed isn't going to do anything. Then other times it's very useful. And, this doesn't, it says it can't stack with itself, but you could combine it with a weapon that has the Slow Mastery. And then it's 15 feet from Hamstring Blow and then another 10 feet from the Slow Mastery. And that's 25 feet. You're reducing their speed. That's a lot. A Forceful Blow, the pushing 15 feet straight away from you, it doesn't have a size restriction. Most of the pushing stuff in the game now does have a size restriction. Furthermore, if you have the Push Mastery, although that does have a size restriction, you could combine those. So it's 15 feet from Forceful Blow and another 10 feet from Push. That's 25 feet. It's a lot of pushing. And then you can move straight towards them up to half your speed. And if you can catch up to them, it might be a situation where they could have gotten to allies and now they can't. So it could help you with tanking. It's really going to depend. So often, Brutal Strike is not going to be of a lot of help to you. And other times, it'll be of huge help to you. And you're going to have to kind of watch and play your tactics. Because it's not obvious to me, in a general sense, whether you should use Brutal Strike or not. Then we have Relentless Rage at level 11. Your rage can keep you fighting despite grievous wounds. If you drop to 0 hit points while your rage is active and don't die outright, you can make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. If you succeed, your hit points instead change to a number equal to twice your Barbarian level. Each time you use this feature after the first, the DC increases by 5. When you finish a short or long rest, the DC resets to 10. So there is one change from the old version from 2014, and that is if you drop to 0 hit points using the 2014 rules and major save, you fell to 1 hit point instead. Now you're going to fall to an amount equal to twice your Barbarian level, so you're going to get some more hit points back when that happens. Otherwise, it is the same. All right, and we're going to jump a little bit on this one, but level 13 is Improved Brutal Strike. It used to be the Improved Brutal Critical, where you got the additional die on critical hits. Now it says you've honed new ways to attack furiously. The following effects are now among your Brutal Strike options. So Brutal Strike hasn't changed other than the Rider. We're going to get 2 new options. This is the first one, Staggering Blow. The target has disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of your next turn. That's pretty good. That one is pretty good, especially if you're working in teamwork. So the next person up is going to have some effect on that guy that is going to apply a saving throw. Staggering Blow could be a very tasty option. The other one is Sundering Blow. Before the start of your next turn, the next attack roll made by another creature against the target gains a +5 bonus to the roll. Attack roll can only gain 1 Sundering Blow bonus. I guess if the next attack roll is going to be super important, that might be worthwhile. It's hard for me not to select Staggering Blow here. Of course, Forceful Blow and Hamstring Blow remain options, but to me it looks like Staggering Blow is the premier option when you're 13th level. Level 15, Persistent Rage. Okay, so the old Barbarian got this, but different, all right? It's been changed. When you roll initiative, you can regain all expended uses of rage. After you regain uses of rage in this way, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. In addition, your rage is so fierce it now lasts for 10 minutes without you needing to do anything to extend it from round to round. Your rage ends early if you have the unconscious condition or don heavy armor. So the one way this has been reduced in power is if you wear or don heavy armor, it ends the rage. I don't know why you're donning heavy armor as a barbarian, but okay. The old version just had your rage last until you fell unconscious or until the 1 minute expired. Of course, extending it for 10 minutes without doing anything is better. And the rolling initiative and getting all your rage uses back is new. Now, the old version, I think when I did the class chart, I said that the number of rages going from 2 to 6 was the same. Not exactly, actually. I should correct that. At level 20, the old version got unlimited rages. I don't think that makes any difference whatsoever for the new Barbarian because the new Barbarian is never going to run out of rages. When you are level 20, you are going to have 6 rages. You're going to get 1 back after every short rest. They last for 10 minutes without you having to do anything. And you can get them all back when you roll initiative. So you essentially have 12 rages if you need them. There's just no way you're going to run out of rage. So I don't think that really makes a difference. So yeah, Persistent Rage definitely boosted. Then at level 17, Improved Brutal Strike. So we're not going to get any new options here. It just says the extra damage of your Brutal Strike increases to 2d10. It was 1d10 before. In addition, you can use 2 different Brutal Strike effects whenever you use your Brutal Strike feature. So now you could do your Staggering Blow and your Forceful Blow, or whatever 2 you wanted to. That's a fair improvement. Level 17, I expect big things. This one is okay. I'm not sure it's big enough for 17th level, in my opinion. At level 18, Indomitable Might. If your total for a strength check or strength saving throw is less than your strength score, you can use that score in place of the total. This is unchanged from the 2014 rules. The one thing I will note is, at level 18, I would expect a Barbarian to have a 20 strength, right? You would imagine most Barbarians will have a 20 strength by this point. It is not unheard of for 18th level characters to go against creatures that have DCs higher than 20. So it is possible that Indomitable Might will not mean you are automatically making all your strength saving throws. Just be aware of that. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Level 19 is an epic boon. This is just an ability score increase. But you can select an epic boon now, and if you watch my video on epic boons, you'll see you definitely want to select an epic boon. They're just better than other feats. And finally, level 20, Primal Champion, unchanged essentially from the 2014 rules. Your strength and constitution scores increased by 4. They set a maximum of 25 because you might have selected an epic boon at level 19, which would increase probably one of those 2 scores to a 21. And so now you don't lose out on your +4. That's why they set it to 25. But it's the same capstone that the old Barbarian got. And the old Barbarian, for all the complaints we have on it, on, the third and fourth tier of play, they do have a good capstone. Getting a bonus of +4 to strength and constitution, that is huge. Great capstone for the Barbarian. I'd say maybe the only better capstone right now. The Cleric has a really good one, and the Monk might have a better one because both the ability scores work for their unarmored defense. Well, only one of these works for the Barbarian unarmored defense, but no complaints. Very good capstone. The Barbarian overall, I personally think this is a Barbarian I will now play again, and I'm looking forward to that. My main complaints about the Barbarian have been addressed, and there have been a number of enhancements here that I wouldn't have even thought of asking for that I like. So this is a pretty good Barbarian. Do I still have complaints about tier 3 and 4? Yes. I still have complaints about levels 12 and up, because I think that the Barbarian still doesn't get enough at those levels. But in most campaigns, you're at least expending most of your playtime, if not all of your playtime, at those earlier levels. And the Barbarian, I think, does extremely well at all those levels and fulfills the fantasy that you want from your Barbarian. Okay? That's my opinion on that. Let's look at subclasses. So here is our artwork for the Path of the Berserker. It's pretty much what I would expect. It looks like we got a human Barbarian, 2-weapon fighter, which can work now, by the way. So those would probably be hand axes. You want to get the Nick property. You can make that work with a Barbarian. Believe it or not. Yeah, 2-weapon fighting a Barbarian, no longer a bad idea. And with a Berserker, I might do that. So I think that's pretty cool artwork. And I've seen so much artwork for Barbarians in the past that have 2-weapon fighting. And I keep thinking, that's not a good idea with a Barbarian because, the mechanics don't really support it. Now they actually do. So, yeah, very cool. And I like the artwork. All right, let's look at the subclass. Should acknowledge before we start that the Berserker subclass is probably considered one of the worst, if not the worst, subclass in the game for the 2014 rules. The Frenzy ability here that you see up on screen used to give exhaustion to the Barbarian every time they used it. And exhaustion is hard to get rid of, and it is bad. So, they've gotten rid of that, thank goodness. But the old Berserker Barbarian, don't see a lot of them played. I think I'm going to see a whole lot of the new Berserker Barbarian played. So level 3 Frenzy, we're going to get, if we Reckless Attack while our Rage is active, which I imagine we're going to want to do anyway, most of the time, right? You deal extra damage to the first target you hit on your turn with a strength-based attack. To determine the number of extra damage, or to determine the extra damage, roll a number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus and add them together. The damage has the same type of as the weapon or the unarmed strike used for the attack. So remember, we can use Reckless Attack whether we need it or not. We could be attacking a prone enemy, so we already have advantage. Well, we can still Reckless Attack. We probably wouldn't with any other Barbarian, but with a Berserker, we might to, get our Frenzy bonus. And the damage bonus is going to be 2d6 at level 3, and eventually it's going to be 4d6. So probably 7 at early levels, 14 at high levels as additional damage. You're probably going to hit at least once on your turn, so you can pretty much count that as DPR. Much, much, much better than the old Frenzy. That's a low bar, but I still think this is good. If we want to do the most damage possible with a Barbarian, Berserkers are our choice because of Frenzy. All right, level 6, Mindless Rage. You have immunity to the Charmed and Frightened conditions while your Rage is active. If you're Charmed or Frightened when you enter your Rage, the condition ends on you. The only actual change from the 2014 version is the old version used to suppress Charmed or Frightened while you were raged. Now it just ends it. However, in practice, this will be very different. And that is because your Barbarian is going to be raging far more often now and also has a much, much better chance to be raging at the start of a fight. And that's often when the Frightened condition impacts you, right? So much improved ability because it is going to be active more than 10 times more as often. So immunity to Charmed and Frightened is good. And so, yeah, good feature. Then level 10, Retaliation. When you take damage from a creature that is within 5 feet of you, you can take a reaction to make one melee attack against that creature using a weapon or an unarmed strike. This used to be the level 14 feature of the Berserker Barbarian. It's now level 10, so it's been moved well up. Their old level 10 feature was terrible, and it is actually now the new 14th level feature, but redesigned, which we will get to in a sec. Retaliation's good. Means more attacks, and with the Berserker you want to be doing lots of attacks and doing lots of damage, and it fulfills that fantasy. Alright, so this is how bad the old Intimidating Presence was. You selected an enemy, they made a saving throw based on your charisma, which wasn't going to be high, you're a barbarian, and if they failed they were frightened for a round. Just awful feature. New feature is so much better. All right, as a bonus action, you can strike terror into others. The old one was an action, by the way. As a bonus action, you can strike terror into others with your menacing presence and primal power. When you do so, each creature of your choice in a 30-foot emanation originating from you must make a wisdom saving throw based on your strength. Thank goodness. On a failed save, a creature has the frightened condition for 1 minute. At the end of each of the frightened creature's turns, it gets a new saving throw, and once you use it, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you expand a use of your rage, which you very well might have extra uses of by level 14 to restore your use of it. So you could very easily be doing this at the start of every combat. But here is my one complaint about the Berserker Barbarian. Overall, I love this subclass. I think they've done such an amazing job of fixing this terrible subclass into exactly what it should be. But I have one little annoyance here with Intimidating Presence. And that is, it uses a bonus action, and my rage uses a bonus action. And if I start my combat and I'm not already raged, I have to choose one or the other, and I want the ability to do both, right? I want to be able to do my battle cry at the start of the combat, not at the second round of combat. I wish there had been some mechanic here where we could have, as a bonus action or the bonus action used to enter rage, you can. I think this would have been better. That said, it's still a pretty good feature, and it's so much better. I'm not even going to list all the ways it's better. The old one was crap. This one is good. Okay? Berserker Barbarian is very good. Very strong subclass now. I no dead features. Every feature is good. I think I have to give it a 4 out of 5. Here is our artwork for Path of the Wild Heart, and I think it's pretty good, right? I love the little spectral animals that behind them that I guess are representing the special powers they get through their subclass. So, yep, pretty good. This, by the way, used to be the Totem Warrior Barbarian. Let's look at the features. So this Barbarian gets 2 features at level 3, so I have them both up on your screen right now. First, you're going to be able to cast the Beast Sense and Speak with Animals spells, but only as rituals. That's probably how most people are casting them anyways. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for them, which doesn't matter. Okay, so you can cast Beast Sense, which allows you to see through the eyes of the beast or see through their senses, and Speak with Animals, which is self-explanatory. So you have kind of the affinity with animals built into the subclass. Then level 3, Rage of the Wilds. Your rage taps into the primal power of animals. Whenever you activate your rage, you gain one of the following options of your choice. Bear. While your rage is active, you have resistance to every type of damage except Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. Eagle. When you activate your rage, you can take the disengage and dash actions as part of that bonus action. That's the kind of wording I wanted on that 14th level Berserker feature. While your rage is active, you can take a bonus action to take both of those actions. And Wolf. While your rage is active, your allies have advantage on attack rolls against any enemy of yours within 5 feet of you. So the Wolf is the one that hasn't changed. The other two both have. So the Bear Totem, or the Bear Choice, was the one everyone took with the 2014 one because it gave you resistance to every kind of damage except for Psychic when you were raging. Now it's going to give you everything except Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. So a fair bit less resistances, though still a lot of resistances are added by Bear. Eagle is just dramatically better. Let me just read the old one. No one ever took Eagle, so you don't remember what it does. The old one said, while you're raging, other creatures have disadvantage on opportunity attacks against you. In other words, you're not disengaging, and you can use the dash action as a bonus action on your turn. Now you're just getting disengage and dash both as a bonus action on your turn. That's better than cunning action. That's better than step of the wind. So yeah, Eagle is quite good. But perhaps the biggest advantage here is the ability we can choose which one to select when we rage. Do we want the resistance? Do we want the increased mobility? Do we want the advantage for our allies? I like that versatility in there. It was quite a boost in that regard. But Bear, the one option, is not as good as it used to be. All right, so level 6, Aspect of the Wilds. The old version was called Aspect of the Beast, and it was awful. It did things like you could choose one option, and just like with the third level feature, once you selected it, that was your option. And you could get things like you can track other creatures while traveling at a fast pace, or your travel pace is doubled, not your speed, just your travel pace. Or you can see up to 1 mile away with no difficulty. Or your carrying capacity is doubled. So not good features, right? Flavor for the most part. So now Aspect of the Wilds is actually good. You gain one of the following options of your choice. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can change your choice. These do not require that you are raging. So these are up all the time, and you can pick one and you can change it after a long rest. You have a dark vision with a range of 60 feet. If you already have it, its range increases by 60 feet. Or you have a climb speed equal to your speed, or you have a swim speed equal to your speed. This is nice, right? And the ability to switch it is really the key here. I need more dark vision, I'll choose Owl. I'm going to need a climb speed, I'm going to choose Panther. I am going to be in a water adventure, I'm going to choose Salmon. At level 10, we get Nature Speaker. You can cast the Commune with Nature spell, but only as a ritual. Wisdom is your spellcasting ability for it. And the old Totem Barbarian got the same feature at level 10. Commune with Nature is a good ritual, okay? However, if I am, say, a druid, I can take Commune with Nature, and I'm getting additional things at level 10. With the Barbarian, you're not. You're just getting this one spell you can cast as a ritual. This one is a thumbs down from me. I think this ends up being largely a dead level because, somebody else can basically get the same thing and it's hardly an afterthought for them. But for us, it's our only feature. So this one doesn't cut it for me. And finally, at level 14, we get Power of the Wilds. Whenever you activate your rage, so once again, this is just while raging, you gain one of the following options of your choice. While your rage is active, you have a fly speed equal to your speed if you aren't wearing any armor. The old version, by the way, you only got the flight during your turn, and then you had to land each time. So much, much better. I'm not going to bother comparing them all. The old version was terrible. Lion, while your rage is active, any of your enemies within 5 feet of you have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another barbarian who has this option active. So we're going to get a tanking feature. Or Ram, while your rage is active, you can cause a large or smaller creature to have the prone condition when you hit it with a melee attack. No saving throw. These are all pretty good. I tend to think Fly is the best of these options, but it depends. There's going to be circumstantial cases where Fly is good and circumstantial cases where it's not so good, and then I'm going to select one of the other options. I think it's a solid feature. So the Path of the Totem overall, I think they get one disappointing feature. That's at level 10. The other ones I think are fairly solid. I don't like it as much as the Berserker Barbarian, I have to say, so I can't give it the same score. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it's still pretty solid. And yes, there are fewer resistances under Bear, but there are enough other things added that I think it more than makes up for that. Here's our Path of the World Tree artwork. We can see we got a Barbarian with a maul, it appears, and it looks like a bunch of leaves are floating around them, and we are going to kind of get that feeling with the subclass features. So let's look at them. All right, I should start by saying that if you were following the playtest, you've already seen Path of the World Tree in the playtest, and not a lot has changed from the playtest. So level 3, Vitality of the Tree. Your rage taps into the life force of the World Tree. You gain the following benefits. Vitality Surge. When you activate your rage, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your barbarian level. So at level 3, that's 3, that's nothing, but eventually it's 20. Okay? And then Life-Giving Force. At the start of each of your turns, while your rage is active, you can choose another creature within 10 feet of yourself to gain temporary hit points. To determine the number of temporary hit points, roll a number of d6s equal to your rage damage bonus. So, same kind of mechanic that the Berserker got. And add them together. If any of these temporary hit points remain when your rage ends, they vanish. So most temporary hit points last until the end of your next long rest. These ones are only while your rage is active, though that could be multiple combats. And this is going to be at the start of each of your turns while your rage is active. So that's a fair amount of temporary hit points you could be giving out to allies. And there's no reason you can even do this in between combats. And with this extended duration, we could very potentially give our entire party maximum temporary hit points, like 14 at level 3, pretty easily with one use of rage. Now, this is very much a tanking feature, right? Because you are making everybody else tougher, but you're not making yourself nearly as tough, because number of temporary hit points equal to your barbarian level, except at very high levels, that's going to be less than you're giving to everybody else. And furthermore, you can replenish for everybody else turn after turn after turn. Level 6, Branches of the Tree. Whenever a creature you can see starts its turn within 30 feet of you while your rage is active, you can take a reaction to summon spectral branches of the world tree around it. Target succeeds on a strength saving throw based on our strength modifier, or be teleported to an unoccupied space that you can see within 5 feet of yourself or the nearest unoccupied space you can see. After the target teleports, you can reduce its speed to 0 until the end of the current turn. This is a very, very nice feature. So the obvious use is to use it on an enemy, right? And then we force them into melee with us, and they can't move away. That's the obvious use. The less obvious use is we could potentially use it on an ally who's in trouble, and teleport them next to us. And it says here we can reduce its speed to 0. We don't have to. So it could just be a reaction teleport for our ally to get them out of trouble and get them behind us, which I think will be a use that, if you think about it, it's going to come up and it's going to be very useful. Teleporting things as a reaction is nice. Usually teleporting stuff is at least a bonus action. Unless we're getting opportunity attacks or have Polar Master or something, I wouldn't necessarily expect to be using our reaction all the time. This gives us pretty good use of our reaction, I think. And reducing the creature's speed to 0, also very nice here. I think this is a good feature. Then at level 10, we're going to get Battering Roots. During your turn, your reach is 10 feet greater with any melee weapon that has the heavy or versatile property, meaning that if you aren't using a weapon right now that has the heavy or versatile property, get one. And this is going to work with both kinds of combat. If you're using a two-handed weapon, it's probably got the heavy property already. And if you want to use, weapon and shield, versatile weapon works great. Your longsword is versatile already. Now, the reach increasing on a spear, if you throw it, doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what the reach is if you're throwing the weapon, but here's where it matters. When you hit with such a weapon on your turn, you can activate the push or topple mastery property in addition to a different mastery property that you're using with the weapon. That means you're doubling your weapon mastery, and topple is very good, and push is not bad. So, and you can choose when you hit which one you want to use. That's really good. And that's on top of your regular mastery. And the 10 feet greater with any melee weapon, that means if you are not using a reach weapon, it normally has a reach of 5 feet, meaning now it has a reach of 15 feet. So that's more than, your standard reach weapons like a pike. And if you are using a reach weapon like a pike, it now has a reach of 20 feet. So yeah, that is just a huge amount of control over the battlefield. Then at level 14, travel along the tree. When you activate your rage, and as a bonus action when your rage is active, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. It's a lot of teleports of 60 feet, twice the distance of a Misty Step. In addition, once per rage, you can increase the range of that teleport to 150 feet. When you do so, you can also bring up to 6 willing creatures who are within 10 feet of you. Each creature teleports to an unoccupied space of your choice within 10 feet of your destination space. This has actually been reduced in power from the playtest. The playtest version had a much longer range for that once per rage teleport. That said, 150 feet is still usually going to be enough. I have seen this in use. I was in a one-shot. I wasn't playing the Barbarian, but somebody else was. We started a combat, and there were enemies. They were like spellcasters. They were at the other end of a very long map. And on round 1, the Barbarian grabbed us all and teleported us all around the enemy, and it changed the combat. That's the kind of thing that this feature is. Very strong feature. And even when you're not bringing along your allies, just being able to bonus action teleport for 60 feet whenever you want to while you're raging. And at level 14, you can be raging whenever you want, pretty much. That's very, very strong as well. So World Tree is a banger. I mean, they have no dead features, but also their features are all really good. Like, really good. I think they might be better than the Berserker Barbarian. Not for damage. If you want the most damage, do the Berserker Barbarian. But in terms of just the number of cool things that they can do, World Tree Barbarian, I think it's a 4.5 out of 5. It's just about perfect. All right, and here is our Zealot Barbarian, which I assume is a Dragonborn. And yeah, they look fine. This isn't my favorite of the Barbarian artwork, but let's take a look at the features. All right, so at level 3, we're going to get 2 features. So first, we're going to get Divine Fury. You can channel your divine power into your strikes on each of your turns while your rage is active. The first creature you hit with the weapon or an unarmed strike takes extra damage equal to a d6 plus half your barbarian level rounded down. The extra damage is necrotic or radiant. You choose the type each time you deal the damage. So this should look very similar to the Barbarian Frenzy feature at level 3. There's 2 differences. The first is, on average, this one does a little bit less damage. And it doesn't matter what level you're at. They're always close, but this one always does a little bit less. The second thing is, we don't have to reckless attack to take advantage of this. So let's say we already have advantage. Well, if you're a Berserker Barbarian, you reckless attack anyways to get Frenzy. With a Zealot Barbarian, we're going to get our Divine Fury regardless. So there's an advantage there, but the damage is a little bit lower. But unlike the Berserker Barbarian, we get a second feature at level 3. And that is Warrior of the Gods. And this is new. It's different than it was in the playtest as well. A divine entity helps ensure you can continue the fight. You have a pool of 4d12s that you can spend to heal yourself. As a bonus action, you can expend dice from the pool, roll them, and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll's total. Your pool regains all expended dice when you finish a long rest, and the pool increases as you gain in levels. So when you get to 6th level, you get 5 dice. At 12th level, you get 6 dice, and at 17th level, you get 7 dice. This is fairly minor, okay? It's a little bit like Second Wind for fighters. There's no bonus on the D12, but we have 4 of them starting at level 3. We don't get any back on a short rest, and they do scale, but they don't scale quickly. So, you know, this is definitely better than nothing. But I don't think this is definitely the ribbon of the 2. Divine Fury is the primary ability at 3, and Warrior of the Gods is the minor ability. But you put them together, I mean, Frenzy is good. Divine Fury is arguably slightly less good, but I'm going to put the math up on the screen. All right, so here is the math comparing the average amount of Divine Fury and the average amount of Frenzy, and you can see at every level they're reasonably close. And you don't have to reckless attack, so I'm not 100% sure Divine Fury is actually worse than Frenzy at all. And then Warrior of the Gods, even if it's not super impactful, it's something else. So I think, that the Zealot actually does quite well at level 3. Level 6, Fanatical Focus. Once per active rage, if you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it with a bonus equal to your rage damage bonus, and you must use the new roll. This once again reminds me a little bit of the Berserker Barbarian. The Berserker Barbarian, if you recall, at level 6 gets immunity to the Charmed and Frightened conditions, which means there's a lot of saving throws they would have had to have made that they just won't make because they're immune. Well, here, if we fail a saving throw, we can re-roll it with a bonus and have a better chance of succeeding. And if we think about once per rage, that's a lot of uses, a lot more than, say, a fighter gets of Indomitable. The advantage of this over the Berserker Barbarian is that it's any saving throw, and there's a lot more saving throws than just Charmed and Frightened. So definitely far more versatile, but there's no guarantee that second roll is going to succeed. So it is not as reliable as the Berserker feature, but far more versatile. But they're, once again, have features that are somewhat reminiscent of each other. Then we get level 10 and Zealous Presence. It says, as a bonus action, you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, and unless you expend a use of your rage, no action required to restore your use of it. By level 10, I would imagine you probably have an extra rage or two that you could use this more than once if you want. And that's actually the only change from the Xanathar's version. The Xanathar's version, it was just once per long rest. Otherwise, it was the same. The boost here is very short duration. We're talking 1 round. But it should affect all your allies. Presumably, you're not going to have more than 10 allies in a single fight. Presumably, they should all be within 60 feet of you. And it's advantage on all their attack rolls and all their saving throws. If you know that creatures are going to be doing something that are going to be requiring saving throws, Zealous Presence could be very good. Like, you roll initiative and there's Mind Flayers there. Zealous Presence is a good idea, right? Because they are going to Mind Blast, give everyone advantage on those intelligence saving throws that aren't easy to make the saving throw against. Then that could be very good. Keep in mind, Zealous Presence doesn't work on you. It says up to 10 other creatures of your choice, as in not you, so you wouldn't get the advantage. It's an okay feature. I don't love it. It is very short duration. You kind of need to guess when it's going to be needed, but I think it's all right. In the right situation, advantage on everybody's saving throws could be huge. Even advantage on all attack rolls could be huge in the right situation. So, yeah, I think it's okay. It's not like the Totem Barbarian where it's a real disappointment at level 10, but this isn't a banger. All right, so at level 14, the old Zealot Barbarian got probably the premier Barbarian feature of the entire game, which was Rage Beyond Death, which basically said if you're raging and they kill you, you keep on fighting. You just have 0 hit points, that's fine. You get a healing potion later, you're fine. Really impactful ability, like really dramatic. And they have changed it, and it is entirely different. This is basically a new feature. Rage of the Gods. When you activate your rage, you can assume this form of a divine warrior. The form lasts for 1 minute or until you drop to 0 hit points. So this is not lasting your whole rage. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. While in this form, you gain the benefits below. And I'm going to need to jump around screens here. But we start with flight. You have a fly speed equal to your speed, and you can hover. Now keep in mind that one of the best features that the Totem Warrior got at level 14 was the ability to fly, no hover. So already we're looking pretty good. Resistance. You have resistance to necrotic, psychic, and radiant damage. Interestingly, these are all damage types that the Bear Totem Barbarian or the Bear Wild Heart Barbarian isn't resistant to. So I kind of like the way they went there. And then Revivification. When a creature within 30 feet of you would drop to 0 hit points, you can take a reaction to expend a use of your rage to instead change the target's hit points to a number equal to your Barbarian level. So it's kind of like you could use Relentless Rage for your allies instead. And at 14th level, again, I would imagine we will have extra rages. So Rage of the Gods, I think, actually is exceptional when it's up. We have the flight with hover. We have the ability to keep our allies up in combat using some rages, which we should have extra of by level 14. And we're going to get resistance to 3 different damage types. Put those together, that's very good. The only issue I have with Rage of the Gods is it is so limited. Once per long rest for 1 minute, and there's no way to recover it other than getting a long rest. So very short duration, once per long rest. But it's good for that 1 minute. Really good. The Zealot Barbarian overall, I think did reasonably well. Now, I always thought of the Zealot Barbarian as the fix for the Berserker Barbarian, and now we look at the Berserker Barbarian and the Zealot Barbarian, and we see definite connection between the two. And what I see is the Berserker is the specialist, and the Zealot Barbarian is more of a generalist. So the Berserker does more damage, but must use Reckless Attack. The Zealot does a little bit less damage, but doesn't need to. The Berserker is absolutely immune to Charmed and Frightened. The Zealot is getting rerolls on saving throws against anything, but isn't necessarily immune. So I kind of see parallels between the two with more general and more specific. I think they're both very good, and I believe I gave the Berserker a 4 out of 5, and I think I'm comfortable giving the Path of the Zealot a 3.5 out of 5 because I don't think their level 10 and 14 features are quite as impactful as those for the Berserker, but I still think it's very solid. And that is the Barbarian. So what we have are 4 subclasses. They're all pretty good. They all came within 1 point. I think, in my opinion, and keep it in mind, these are just my opinions, and these opinions could change. Year of playing, I might have different opinions, but in my opinion, the World Tree Barbarian is the best of the 4 right now, and the difference between the best and the worst isn't that big. So I am pretty happy with the Barbarian. I really like what they did with the base class. I really like what they did with the subclasses. The subclasses are all pretty solid. I only noticed one real feature in all 4 subclasses that I felt was disappointing. That's pretty good. No complaints there. With the base Barbarian, I will say I think you're going to struggle like level 11 through level 19. I think you're going to feel being a Barbarian instead of being a caster, right? Like that's when we're going to really notice the caster martial divide. But I also think fighters are not going to feel that as much as Barbarians will, because fighters are getting those extra attacks. Barbarians are not. And what they are getting, I don't think makes up the difference, in my opinion. Okay, so that's my take on the Barbarian. I'm definitely going to be playing Barbarians again soon. And otherwise, in my next video, tune in and we'll talk about the fighter, which I think does even better at higher levels. And also some very, very juicy subclasses. Hope you'll join me for that. Until then, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.